In this video we're going to be doing text. We're going to be doing it inside of our title blocks first, and this is what we are going to create. Just to let you know, all of these approvals, date, F last, 110, RAM, material finish blank, all of these here that appear to be the same size, they are all 1/8 of an inch in size, 0.125. Now mechanical standard actually definitely common is 0.12 inches, just less than 1/8 of an inch. So either one is absolutely suitable, acceptable. If you want, let's just go ahead and do the 0.12. This right here is a title. It is a little bit more important. So more importance, we usually give a little bit larger size. So this would normally be double the size. So if these are 1/8 inch, then this would be a 0.25. If these are a 0.12 inch, then this would be about approximately a 0.24. If we got quite a bit for the title, we want to make it even a little smaller, such as whether it's just 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines if necessary. You can put this down to about a 3/16, which is 0.1875. Again, you don't need to know those decimals. It does help to be going back and forth with them. You should have your conversion table available that I gave you, or you can do the division calculation yourself. And then of course, obviously, doesn't matter, you can type in either the fraction or the decimal, and that is acceptable. Here at Missouri Western, this is our company in a way. Sometimes it'll be a logo. We'll probably change this after we do the Griffin logo. Kind of make this look a little snazzier, take pride in who we are, who created this, the company that's responsible for the design. Hopefully that is definitely a good thing, and in a way it's publicity. It's advertisement. It's throwing our name out there, hoping to get additional business, not just recognition, but additional business. So this over here, this is a little bit different. We'll probably have to make this smaller just to make it fit. Not that big of a deal. I'll go over that later. All of these drawn, checked, approved. Just make these half the size of what these are. So if these are 1/8 of an inch, then those will be a 1/16. If these are a 0.12, then it'll be a 0.06. And also, if you notice, I've got these other little things, these little squares. I'll explain those in the video. These rectangles here, these lines and those squares, every one of those has to do with location for our text. Drawn, checked, approved, material, finish, blank. Every one of those is exactly the same distance from this left line and the same distance down from the line above it. All of these are perfectly in the middle. This is why we did rectangles for every one of these, so we could have that midpoint. And each of those squares is 1/32 of an inch square. Each of these little lines is 1/32 of an inch long, and from those midpoints. This here, these rectangles, I'll explain. F last, the standard is your 3 initials. The reason I do F last is instead of me trying to figure out whose initials belong to whom, instead I say either do your first initial, period, last name, or part of your last name, or you can do your first name, period, last initial, something that makes it a little easier for me to tell who you are. Additionally, it's not at all uncommon for 2 students in one classroom to have the same initials, or at least close to it. So we want to make sure this is obvious that it belongs to you. I don't think you'd want to put a lot of work into this and me give your good grade to someone else. Likewise, I don't think you'd want me to accidentally give someone else's bad grade to you. So that's the purpose of that. All of this, I will tell you, almost every bit of this is what's called single line text. The only difference is this one here, this large note here, and right here. This is multi-line text. Now it's possible our logo or company name will be multi-line text also, but at a bare minimum, this paragraph or set of notes and our title will be multi-line text. So let's go ahead and get started. We're already 5 minutes into this, and I will go right here. So again, text, we have it right here. Annotation, text, multi-line text, drop it down. Here is single line text. The difference is now this is single line asking for a start, and I will click here. It's asking for the height. I'll say it's that tall. The annotation, or sorry, the rotation has to do with direction of text out to the right, 0 degrees. And as I start typing and I hit enter, and I type some more, and I hit enter, and I hit enter, and if I'm done, just hit enter again. Now, this is why it's called single line text. That is just one item all by itself. This is one item by itself. So each line, even though I did them all at the same time, once you hit enter, you're actually creating a second thing of text. So where multi-line text, if I do multi-line, it's asking for a rectangular box. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and do the project title, multi-line text, and I will come down here and I will grab that corner and click again for that corner, and now it's waiting. Now this cursor looks pretty large, and that's correct. It's too large. When I do multi-line text, I get a whole different ribbon. Basically, I get a text editor, just about full size. Same thing you'd get in Google Sheets or Word or many other things. Here I have the styles. I'm going to go over this in a minute. Here is why this cursor is so big. I'm going to change that to a 0.1875. I'll tab. Notice the cursor is smaller. Annotative, not going to get into annotative for a while. Mask. Formatting, such as match, bold. Here's my bold, italics, cross out, or strike through, underline, overline, superscript, which would be your exponent subscript, change case from caps to smaller, so on and so forth. Also, again, here your font, which we'll cover in the style. Here we have paragraph, we have justification. We have some justification here you may have seen before on documents like Word or Excel, Sheets, Google Docs, whatever it may be. My recommendation is to use this one here, justification. Justification has to do with alignment. Here we have top left, top center, top right, middle left, middle center, middle right, bottom left, bottom center, bottom right. Now in this case, I want that project title to be centered no matter what. So I'm going to go ahead and click middle center. Okay. And let's see, I have columns. That drops down. No columns dynamic. I'm not messing with columns. Here are symbols, which is where I will get a lot of the degrees, the diameter, plus minus, whatever it may be. Now, unfortunately, it's not the easiest. Sometimes I have to go up to other. I'll show you that later. Here's spell check. For spell check, edit dictionaries, find and replace, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, close editor. When I'm done with this, if I type, and even if I keep hitting enter, okay, I'm done with it. I either have to click close text editor or just simply click out of it. Now, click on that. I see that is all one object. Okay, I'll undo. If I want to edit this, even single line text, if I want to edit it, just double click on it. In this case, I will swipe it all, and I don't want that. I'm going to type project title, multiple lines if needed. Okay. Now, I had on mine multiple lines was down below. It's all right. You can either hit enter, or if you just keep hitting space until it runs out, it'll throw it down into the next box. Either way is fine. Either way is fine. Now I click here. Now I see that it is pretty well centered, it looks like. If I double click, and really I don't need 2 lines, and I click off there, it is still centered because I did middle left and right, or sorry, middle is up and down, and center left to right on the justification. So project title, multiple lines if needed. Okay, I'll leave that alone. Now, by the way, I'm going to put that on my no print layer. I want it to be blue. I want it to scream at me and say, hello, I'm not going to print. Again, I've told you before on the layer settings, layer properties manager, my no print items, no print layer, and my viewports are always blue. So when I see blue, that should be telling me I know it's not going to print. Now that's my way of doing it. You work for a company to do some of this work, you need to find out their standards, the way they do things, because every company is different. So, okay. Another thing is I'm going to go ahead and go to no print, and I am going to come up here, not this top one, I'm going to come to this one, and I'm going to do a rectangle. I'm going to do 1/32, comma 1/32. Now I'm also going to put that on a 0 line weight, and actually I'm going to change my layers to a 0 line weight for that, and for my viewports I probably should have had that done that way a long time ago. Okay, now I can change this back to by layer, which is the best choice, and there it is. So with this, I'm going to select and I'm going to move from this corner up to that corner. Now truly it's not going to be 1/32 of an inch, it's 1/32 of an inch from this center point, the center of that line, which will make a little more sense here in a minute. So now I'm going to do text, which is single line text. DT, which you see in parentheses, is single line text. Okay, if I just do T, that's M text. That's what multi-line text is. So DT is what I normally do, DT, and it's going to now ask, now I see down here, current styles standard, text height is 0.4884, not at all what I want. Annotative justification. Justification's middle center, meaning if I click here and specify height, I'm going to change that to 1/16, and orientation or the rotation is 0, and I'll just right click and I will type drawn. Okay, and I will click escape, and a couple problems. One, doesn't look like it. Yes, it did. The height, it looks large. It's okay. The problem is do you see this middle point here? That is that DT right down here, justify middle center. I don't want middle center. I want this corner here to be at that corner. Well, that would be the top left justification. So I can go over here and find my, I have to select it first, go over to properties. Here is text, here is justify middle center, drop it down. I want top left. And there it is, and that's exactly what I want. Okay, now what I can do with that, I can select it, copy. Now, where am I going to copy from? You can copy anywhere you want. Problem is, if I click here, such as there, for whatever reason, it selected that top left point, I have no place to drop it down here. So I think I ought to be look a little ahead and copy. And I want this point. I'm going to select this top left. Why? Because I know I have that top left is going to go here, and that's an object snap I can select. So I will do that on all of these. This one here would be material. This one here would be finish. This one's going to be remaining blank. That's okay. And these would be midpoints. And over here I have size and scale and cage code, which is for military contracts, DWG number, REV for revision, sheet, and another blank. Okay, now escape. Now all I have to do is double click and I can just go in and double click those and blank, DWG number. You can put, like I could have put a period after revision, doesn't really matter. It's not that big of a deal. Actually, your boss, whomever you work for, will determine whether that's a big deal to him or her. This one is blank. I'm going to say blank because it's just standard that it is blank. So I'll say so. It's kind of a note to myself. Drawn, checked. I believe I've got them all done. Now, the big thing is, and I'm going to wait to change their layers. So now I'm going to draw a line from this midpoint, a height of 1/32. Okay. Now I'm going to do DT. Now, instead of typing it and then changing its justification, now is when I have the options. So I'm going to go ahead and click Justify. And I'm going to say center. Now, for all caps, the bottom here, this is just considered left. This is considered center. This is considered right. Yeah, if I pick down here and go to bottom left, there it is. Bottom left, bottom center, bottom right. That's down lower to accommodate lowercase letters that hang down below the line. So in this case, I want center. And now I select where. The height being 0.12. I'll just leave it at 0.12. And rotation 0. And approvals. And then I will copy from this midpoint to this midpoint. I'll say date. And then I will again copy from midpoint to midpoint. There. Now, I'll go ahead and copy these. No, I'll just copy this one. And I will copy it from here to here. This one, as far as where it should be at a place that looks good. And a lot of that's determined. If I'm just going to do 3 initials, like mine, this def box could have been smaller, and I could have just had RAM or my initials. And if yours is just as, or if for whatever reason we did your 3 initials, that's a reasonable place. It's kind of like it's somewhat here in the middle. Is it a big deal that it's not perfectly in the middle? As long as it's not distracting. What does matter really is that these are all aligned. These are all aligned. And so the same thing here. And actually, I'm going to change that to a bottom or to a right justification. Additionally, I'm going to move it over. I should have selected it from there to there, and then I'll bring it back over. I'll say 0.125, and now I'm going to copy from, I'll just say this corner to that corner to that corner. Now I'm going to change this F period LAST. I don't have a space in there. Again, this really isn't standard. This is just so that I understand who this is. And again, depending on how long your name is, initial, name, and initial, even abbreviated name, just be careful. Try not to get it to be crammed under here. If that's a little much, but if it looks like this, that's not that big of a deal, but we are a little crammed. I'd probably bring all of these, including mine, over to the right a little bit. Again, don't get it crammed. Have a little bit of daylight there if you want. You could use a 32nd inch square down here that's coming up to the left. So I'll just leave those there. And so again, it's whatever looks good. Sometimes it's so that not only that it looks good, is that it's not distracting. So here, as far as for date and that for the midpoint, I will copy from there to that midpoint, and midpoint. Now this here, this is a no-no. This is what we don't want. We don't want our text, our lettering, to be touching anything else. So in this case, I'm going to move all of this up that 32nd of an inch. Now this is a little higher than these. That's okay, but at least all of these across here to the right will be exactly the same height. So from here to here to here, and where is it at? To there. And I don't like that. I'm going to move it from here, hover at that midpoint, and put it there. Okay? And then change those accordingly. And then, of course, you'll need to fill these in as well. This one's already over 20 minutes. I'm going to let this one finish, and I'm going to close this one and get into another one.